Tomorrow Never Dies was released in 1997, and one that checks every box when it comes to James Bond tropes. Yet despite best intentions, the film's by-the-book's nature ends up leaving it quite bland. In it, media baron Elliot Carver begins to instigate a global war by pitting Britain and China against each other in order to gain ratings and extend his broadcasting worldwide. When MI5 are only given 48 hours before retaliation by the British, Bond is sent to stop Carver with the help of Chinese agent Wei Lin. Tomorrow Never Dies allows Pierce Brosnan to give a more confident performance in his second Bond flick, much like the actors that came before him. Sorry George. His all-in-one 007 really does excel in that he can go from scenes like this
Think we understand each other?
Grow up, 007.
to scenes like this.
Wait! I'm just a professional doing a job.
Me too.
Plus, it's always nice to see an homage which oozes vintage Bond.
Come sit hand in hand underneath the moonlit sky, me honey and I come make fairyland. Mango, banana and tangerine.
Elliot Carver is such a curious villain, though the idea of making him a media mogul was an interesting choice. The media's political influence is one of the more realistic threats in the series, and there are obvious parallels to be drawn. The truth is, Carver is really lame. He comes across as a wimp, a nerd, a sheep in wolf's clothing. Yet oddly, it actually makes the character work. He's not inherently evil, his business comes before his villainy. Even then, his actions are just a means to an end. The downside to this is that he never truly feels threatening. It's hard to take a baddie seriously when their catchphrase is
Delicious. Delicious.
Either way, Jonathan Pryce wins me over with his delivery of this line.
Get down there and protect the missile! Oh, Mr. Stamper, would you please kill those bastards?
Sadly, the rest of the cast aren't as developed. Wei Lin is pretty standard, Paris's attempted history with Bond doesn't deliver any emotional punch, and Stamper is perhaps the worst attempt at a henchman yet. Apparently Goetz Otto got the job when auditioning simply by stating, "I'm big, I'm bad, and I'm German," which goes to show how much thought they put into the character. Oh, and Jack Wade's reappearance is much more cartoonish compared to GoldenEye. This Felix Leiter type character is more in tune with J.W. Pepper, but not nearly as funny.
You didn't even say goodbye!
There's no denying Tomorrow Never Dies is big on the action. It covers all bases from underwater to skydiving to vehicle chases to a firefight in the villain's lair. The problem is not all of them are very good. The motorcycle chase is inventive in handcuffing the two together but drags on for far too long. And much of the action in the film just involves generic gun spraying. The film is also the most gadget-laden by far, featuring the standard Q scene as well as a similar one in Wei Lin's hideout. Perhaps in response to the fleeting appearance of the BMW Z3 in GoldenEye, in which none of its gadgets are displayed, Tomorrow Never Dies car, the 750IL, is jam-packed with them. It features a security system, a reinforced chassis, a remote control mechanism, tear gas, rocket launchers, caltrops dispenser, reinflating tyres, and a cable cutter. Whew. Sure, it sounds like a bit much, but the parking lot car chase is a highlight of the film. Maybe the best thing about Tomorrow Never Dies is the music, for which John Barry recommended David Arnold to compose. Arnold really channels the classic Barry-esque score, but modernises it more successfully than Eric Serra. There is one problem, however. Originally, the main theme was K.D. Lang's Surrender, a brilliant Bond song and one which can be heard throughout the entire soundtrack. At some point, most likely for marketing reasons, it was pushed back to the end credits and replaced by Sheryl Crow's Tomorrow Never Dies, which sadly isn't nearly as good. Oh, and on the subject of sound, the reliance on awful cheesy sound effects used in fight scenes is disappointing. Just take a listen. Overall, Tomorrow Never Dies is probably the Bondiest film in the series thus far. It dots all the I's and crosses all the T's, but in doing so, almost makes it too clean for its own good. There's a superficial vibe, a bit sterile in nature. Let's put it this way. If Tomorrow Never Dies was a student, it'd most certainly be the teacher's pet. It does everything as it should, but that doesn't make it likeable. It's by no means awful, it's just a bit dull. That being said, even going up against James Cameron's Titanic didn't hurt its revenue too much. It fared well at the box office, leaving room for the series to continue marching on forward.
Pathetic.